What does this have to do with this? Well, let's find out. It's 2:35 p.m. Let's get down to business. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, here with my G-Shock Mudmaster triple sensor, one of my all-time favorite G-Shocks. Again, this is that triple sensor that is solar powered, has the altimeter, the barometer, the thermometer, and the compass. And I bring up that it is solar powered because, in my opinion, that's what really makes this Mudmaster the best choice when we're looking at a watch with supreme functionality. You know, the quad sensor Mudmaster that came out just after this one, they kept all the triple sensor functions. They added a step counter to it and called it the quad sensor, and then they removed perhaps the most important attribute, which is the solar power capability. Just a huge hindrance, a big mistake in my opinion. But this Mudmaster is, again, a watch that I have really relied upon in the past. Again, I've been fortunate enough to go into various areas and really try out that triple sensor. I've tried it out at fairly high altitudes when I went to go visit the sequoias over at the Sequoia National Park here in California. I've worn it underwater, at the beach, in deserts, so I've used that thermometer. It's just a really fun watch. And yeah, again, compass, solar power capability. Right now I'm wearing it on a J's and K's NATO strap adapter with a Barton canvas strap affixed to it. Shout out to Barton for supplying me with these straps. Now I did purchase this J's and K's adapter on my own accord, and unfortunately I get a ton of questions about them. And I don't know what happened to the company, but they're very difficult to find now, which is very unfortunate because this is a product I really do enjoy. But if you want to see how I did this, put the NATO strap adapter, click up here and watch the episode. But today, I want to talk about something that I've been getting a lot of questions about, and it's alternatives to this Mudmaster, specifically one alternative, and it's in this box. Let's take a look. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Wow, here it is. Oh, already got a beep out of it. I think I accidentally pressed the button. Okay, so here we don't have a G-Shock. We have a SKMEI, SKMEI. What, I guess their version of a Mudmaster. I actually don't even know the reference number. One second, let me, you know what, Gato, put it on the screen right here. So I purchased this watch for around 16 bucks and some change, okay, which is drastically more affordable than this watch, this Mudmaster triple sensor, which I paid, I think $575 for at the time on Amazon, and that was discounted. When this was brought to market, it was in the 700s. So yeah, I paid $575 for this triple sensor from G-Shock, and I paid like just under 17 for this SKMEI. This is a Chinese company, I do know that. They are marketed heavily, I believe, on places like AliExpress and on Amazon. I actually purchased this on Amazon. You can see definite similarities between these two watches. And the reason I bring this up is because I've had more than a few people in my inbox asking me about this SKMEI Mudmaster. We'll call it a Mudmaster. They want to see if it is a viable alternative to an actual Casio G-Shock Mudmaster. I'm going to tell you right now, just based on heft alone, they feel very different, like right out the box. This Mudmaster is on a canvas strap. This has some type of polymer strap, but they feel, just the head of the watch feels very different. This feels almost hollow in a way, whereas this feels, again, like it's got some resilience to it, some heft to it. But let's take a look. I can see right now this sub dial is moving. I think I inadvertently, there we go. Yeah, I think I had a timer going, stopwatch. Let me see if I can clear it. Okay. So I've messed around with enough digital watches to already kind of see what we got here. So let's quickly pick up the Mudmaster. Okay, here's one of the first things I noticed about the Mudmaster when I got it, this big crown. This was the first G-Shock I ever had with a crown. I didn't know why you would use it. Essentially, it's a mouse, okay? This watch has so many functions and different things that you literally have to unthread it, and then when you pull it out, you can change, for instance, right here it is flashing city, so I can change my city time zone, or I can calibrate different functions and attributes, and no matter what menu I go into, I can utilize that crown as kind of a mouse. Now, one of the downsides is if you are not used to having a G-Shock with a crown, you might forget to keep it threaded and you might flood the watch. So this is just like any other watch with a threaded crown. You have to make sure that it is in fact threaded. I can see this right here also has some form of crown. The interesting thing is that, hold on, let me get closer. Let me make sure I'm holding it in focus. The interesting thing is there's no threading. You can just pull it out. Wow. Okay, so this is literally a crown just to set the time. It's moving that minute hand. Okay, let's move it just away from the sub dials. All right, right here it says start and reset. So okay, so this is your stopwatch. With the G-Shock, we can go through the different settings here. Here's your stopwatch. Actually, that's not how you start it. Okay, you start it from here. Stop, and then I believe that, nope. Okay, that is the reset. You can go back to time mode there. But what do these other buttons do? Okay, we have a different mode here. So time, date, that's a different time zone. So it is a dual time, I think. This is so bizarre. Yeah, so regardless of what setting you're in, okay, so regardless of what mode you are in, the mouse just sets the time, the analog time. Okay, we figured that out. Now, when we look at this G-Shock Mudmaster, when I press this bottom button, the big intuitive button right here, it's your light. And it's not a backlight like we've seen in other G-Shocks. It doesn't have that EL backlight. It just has an LED just for some subtle light. Now this, we're gonna get a shot right here. This G-Shock has incredible lume, like ridiculous lume. And just for reference real quick, this is my DW 6600 and it does have that incredible EL backlight. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But what about this SKMEI, let's see. Okay, so this does have a backlight. There's some definite hot spots, like around here, this dial, it seems to be very bright around the top of it, and then this right here where it says stopwatch, ST I assume, it's bright, and then here it's kind of dim. But there's, okay, it does have a light. Just trying to see what all these, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Did you just see that? Look, 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 look. This bottom button actuates the light, and then this top button actuates the light. So you have some options here, guys. If you're fumbling around in the dark, you're doing a high-speed operation, you're a Navy SEAL Team 6 Delta Force operator, you have options. You can either press this one or press this one. What happens if we press them both at the same time? Will it take a screenshot? No. It's bizarre. How do I set? Okay, so that is... This is a stopwatch. What does this say? I'm trying to figure out what this top part says. I can't tell what that says, guys. You know what, let's get even closer. I'm gonna bring the macro lens out here. Let's get even closer. Okay, so as we get up closer here with this macro lens, again, this, I guess, negative display, if we can call it that, has such bad contrast that I could not tell what this said, but it says TU, so that's the day of the week. So it says Tuesday. One interesting thing that I'm noticing is just how incredibly, like, they really did go to great lengths to mimic this case. You can see the rivets, the screws going through the case, the texturing on the buttons here where it would be one of the sensors. Water resistance rating 5 atmospheres, so this has a 50-meter water resistance rating. This is not solar powered, but again, you have all the cities, all the city zones around the chapter ring or the bezel. You have the crown. But just to compare it with the actual Mudmaster, it's pretty incredible. Like, don't get me wrong, this SKMEI looks terrible and it feels terrible when you actually have a real Mudmaster in your hand. What I mean is, if we look at the actual buttons, these are metal, and so are the bezels of the buttons. It's all metal. Here, the actual sensor is red and also metal. We can look at the main index Arabics. They're very sharp. The screen has nice contrast. You can see it in a multitude of lighting conditions. The crown is actually threaded, looks nice and prim and proper. Whereas this looks just kind of sloppy, but it is interesting that they did go to pretty great lengths to mimic that G-Shock. Here it says green light. The original band, I think, says solar. Let's see, actually, I do have the original band. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here's the original Mudmaster band. It says mud resist, yeah, triple sensor multi-band 6 solar tough, and then vibe resist. Here it says green light, 1/100 chronograph, water resist 50 meters. Sport watch, shock resistant. Another interesting thing that I immediately noticed was the second hand. If we look at the second hand on this SKMEI, it's almost, I mean, it's not exactly, but it's definitely trying to be this Mudmaster second hand. Pretty impressive the lengths these Chinese companies go to rip off actual products. Again, so close yet so far. The SKMEI has almost 0 of the same functions as this Mudmaster, and it's hard to convey this via, you know, camera, but just the way the watch feels is so very different. So different. But I know the skeptics out there will be like, oh, he's being paid by Casio. No, I actually purchased this watch with my own money. Purchased this G-Shock with my own money as well. They feel very different. Another thing I want to bring up is this crystal is sapphire. Okay, pretty resilient build. I've bumped this thing around, I've knocked it around, I've beat the crap out of it, and it is, you know, you can't really even see any scuffs on the resin. It's pretty impressive. This, I don't even know, I mean, is this resin as well? Whatever this material is, it does not feel the same. I think there is actually a layer of plastic on here, yeah. This is not sapphire. This is plastic, I can feel it. Yeah, and again, almost 0 of the same functions, or almost none of the same functions, I should say. My English, I'm still learning. This SKMEI, or SKMEI, you know, it does have a light with 2 buttons, 50-meter water resistance rating. You are getting a stopwatch, day, date, and I think 24-hour time. Whereas this, I mean, oh my gosh, thermometer, barometer, altimeter, compass, solar power, 200-meter water resistance rating, shock resistant, vibration resistant, sapphire crystal, incredible lume, a whole bunch of alarms, a whole bunch of timers, calendars, world time. It's ridiculous what this watch does. It's atomic. Not that I care about that capability, but this SKMEI doesn't have any of those. And the truth is, I was pretty impressed for like 16 bucks and some change. I actually wanted to see what this watch did. The feel of it, it feels like a toy. Let's go ahead and put it on the wrist though. Oh my God. The strap feels like it's immediately going to give me a contact rash. It feels so light on the wrist. It feels incredibly light on the wrist. And for a watch like this, you don't want that. You want to know that there's some heft there. It feels like it's going to break off of my wrist. Is this a viable alternative to a G-Shock Mudmaster? No, guys. No, come on. We all knew that. Absolutely not. But so many of you have asked me about this, I needed to see one. And yeah, let's go ahead and test the lume, and then we'll wrap this up. I will be throwing this out. Man, you know, the closer we get, the worse it looks. The font is just barely legible. Like dual time, it just kind of, it looks like it's just blurring, smudging into each other. The texturing looks okay, but again, look at the paint around that 3 Arabic. Looks like it's rubbing off. It's just not, you know, a viable option at all. Buttons are plastic. Impressive. Impressive the lengths they went to make it look like a Mudmaster, but the feel, the function, fitment, finish, terrible. Terrible, terrible. So after spending some time with this SKMEI and comparing it to an actual G-Shock Mudmaster, is it a viable option? Absolutely not. Am I interested in looking more into these SKMEI watches? Absolutely. Because on the Amazon page where I found this, there were a ton mimicking a bunch of other G-Shocks, and you bet your butt I'm gonna go buy some more. Not to support the company, but because this is hilarious. I wanna see what the other ones are like. I think there was one that even looked like the GBDH 1001 that I recently reviewed. So yeah, I'd love to see what functions that one has. My hopes aren't high though. Let's just leave it at that. So guys, thank you so much for this idea for this episode. I probably wouldn't have even known about this company without so many of you telling me to compare it. Again, it's funny to look at these things back to back, but a lot of these companies, they're just knockoffs. So if the deal is too good to be true, it often is. Okay guys, you're not going to get an actual Mudmaster with the same functionality for 17 bucks. You're not going to do that. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, companies like Casio, they just upsell you and charge you more to cover all their marketing campaigns. Okay, yeah, you pay with marketing regardless of what product you buy. The difference is that if you were to remove the marketing budget, you'd still be left with like a great watch. Whereas with the SKMEI, 16 bucks and some change, you're not getting that. Like this isn't cheap simply because they removed marketing. It's cheap because it's cheap. It's rubbish. So guys, thank you for this episode. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you learned something new and you enjoyed yourself, click that like button, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Join the channel. We can't pick these products up and review them without my channel members. Become a certified T3 bot. Click the affiliate links in my description below. Check out my personal website, www.thetimetellershop.com. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys. Thank you for 130,000 subscribers. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. And always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.